Kagiso, bro. DJ Milkshake.
Yes.
I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you making the trip to be on the podcast.
Thank you, man. Happy to be here, finally.
Yeah, well, I mean, bro, you say finally as in you've been wanting to, but I think it's been more from my side. Not saying that you didn't want to, but I think for me, it's more of a privilege to have you, bro. So thank you.
Yeah. No. Thank you as well. And I say finally because I don't normally do interviews. In fact,
I saw one you did with Fresh, but I think that's the only one I've really seen.
Yeah, that's it. I don't do interviews. It's not really my thing. I'm not really like a decorated celebrity, public figure, whatever you wanna.
Would you say that's by design?
Yes, it's deliberate.
Okay.
I just think if I can get into it a bit, because what I do musically as a DJ, what's put me in the spotlight is that, and that's what I've always sort of preferred to lead with, you know. But when it comes to other aspects of my life, I've always preferred to sort of keep that private.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's why I say I'm not necessarily a decorated celebrity. I let my music and my art and my crafts sort of speak for itself and lead with that, and understand that it's work also.
Has that been a challenge? Because obviously we know there are benefits with showing your life on social media. From an external point of view, it helps you grow your name. It helps you in certain aspects become more popular, build up notoriety. But then it also exposes your family life. It exposes relationships.
Yes,
it exposes a lot more. So there's positives to it, but then there's also negatives to showing your life online. But you can still build your brand by being online. It just doesn't have to be that personal aspect.
Yeah, 100%. And you've hit the nail on the head there. I think with anything, and I was actually watching a podcast just last night, and it's all about trade-offs in life. There's a trade-off with anything. There's a trade-off, with the Zempic as an example, the quick results, the quick wins, but what happens to you and your well-being later on. And I said to myself, look, I don't necessarily want to have the biggest following or be, the most popular guy out there, knowing that to do that, I would need to, like you've said, expose more private parts of my life, my personal life, family relationships. And I said to myself, I'd rather keep those aspects private, with the risk, or rather with the trade-off of not necessarily being as famous as other people who choose to do that, which is obviously fine. These are all choices.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think mainly because I know that there's certain things that I do for myself, and I don't necessarily feel like those things should be out there. And there's a lot of things, like I'm into a lot of different kinds of things, business. I mentioned something to you about what I was doing earlier on. I was writing, and so there's quite a lot of things about me that I do that I choose not to put out there. And I'll even tell you a little bit more about the foundation, my own foundation, some of the things that I've done about that. And I feel like giving back is personal. You don't have to be, loud about it all the time. You want to help someone because you want to help someone. But don't go on social media and say, hi, look at me, I'm helping a homeless person or someone who's hungry and so on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, well, the aspect of sharing your personal life and that kind of component online, perfect example now with Sia Khaleesi.
Yes.
All of that drama, because obviously the relationship was so public, because it also elevated his brand by being a family man, by being all these things. But then things do come out, and then there's negative associations because there's a divorce and because there's so much light on the personal life. Yeah. But it did help his personal brand by being a family man, by being, all of that. But then with that, the trade-off is then the potential negatives of divorces and all of that being in such a public light.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the key of, all of this. I think just with life in general, there's all these trade-offs. You, me, anyone else has to make those decisions. What's what's a safe bet and what's an unsafe bet. And yeah, maybe that should be the theme of this chat, trade-offs.
Trade-offs. I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
Would you, because you grew up in Soweto.
Yeah.
So I want to start with your childhood and, kind of learn more about you and why you got into music and DJing and everything. So, quickly, how was your childhood? How was, that time pre-varsity?
Yeah. Okay. So quickly, model household, if I can call it that. I'm from Soweto, Deep Kloof area in Soweto. There's two of us. I have a younger brother and two kids, parents married, throughout until their untimely passing, And I went to good schools, was fortunate enough to go to a private school. Fell in love with music during high school, did talent shows where I was DJing, won a couple. I was like, hey, there's something here. But I've always been into computers and sort of IT is what I ended up sort of wanting to veer off into, into varsity. So I graduated, graduated high school, went to Wits University, studied a BCom in information systems because I like computers and I figured that's where I want to go. But I then also joined the Wits DJ Society because then when you enroll, they encourage you to take an extracurricular activity, whether it's sports or recreation. So I asked them, do you guys have a DJ club here? They was like, not really. There's something there, but it's not really there. So then I vouched. I said, look, I'll write a letter to the dean. I'll get in touch with the guys who sort of wanted to move with it and, try and get funding. And then, that's how that started. And I didn't get past the first year because then DJing took over. And by luck, the trade-off was my degree.
Yeah.
For this career, I managed to get very fortunate and lucky. In fact, at the end of that year, I'll never forget, it was my first year, I was doing gigs. But because I did so many gigs in and around Auckland Park and Bromfontein, I'd get paid in cash. It wasn't a lot of money, but I was doing quite a lot of gigs. And I remember I had cash and I took this Adidas kit bag back home to my parents. And I said, look, here's for the school fees. And here's all the money you spent on me this year. Thanks, but I'm going to go DJ.
Okay.
And so
was that a difficult decision? Because obviously the safe bet would be to stay at varsity.
Yeah.
And was there a challenge? Was there pushback from your parents?
No. I had the best parents. Hey, they were very understanding. They were both teachers. My father went on to become a businessman, but they went to to study teaching, and they were both teachers. And I think because they understood people and kids and sociology, I think they could see that I wanted something different, and I had my own plans. And so they were very supportive of that. They said, look, if that's what you want to do, if this is what makes you happy, please go ahead and do it. Later on, you might have a different opinion. You might experience some difficulties or whatever the case may be. But if you're sure of you doing this, then go on and do it. And I remember my dad once saying to me, he's like, I don't understand, you going out late at night and going to these gigs and coming back in the morning and people know you and people are stopping me saying, hey, are you Milkshake's dad? And he couldn't get that.
So you were already Milkshake back then, is that?
Yes, yeah. It started then, and he couldn't understand it, but he was in full support of me. He would say, look, I don't know what it is. I don't know what this thing is, but it's clearly something good. And if you're happy doing it, then we're behind you. Just, make sure that this is what you want to do. So, that's basically how the career got going on. While we're talking about Wits, I remember I mentioned to you that I was writing this morning. So obviously school stopped for me. I didn't pursue my studies any longer because I was focused on entertainment, being a DJ in the industry.
So you would have been 20.
Yes, I was 20. Yeah, so this is 2003, 2004. Yeah. Now I'm 41, 20 years ago. Yeah. Now I've gone back to school.
Back to school.
Yeah.
And that's because you obviously, I mean, we all grow, we all develop, we all have certain interests and passions. And when we're younger, we believe that this is the path, but then, you know, our eyes kind of get open to new interests and new possibilities and new understandings and new ideas. And I think that's what's so special. I mean, you know, as you mentioned, it's been 20 years since you were at varsity, but now you're like, you know what, I'm not too old to go do that. I don't have to do the same thing I've been doing. You know, I can do that while doing this. I can pursue other interests. I don't have to be, you know, fixated and stuck on, you know, one particular persona or root my identity in one thing.
Yeah, spot on. I think a lot of growing up has happened. I mean, 20 years it's a lifetime, you know. A lot has happened, a lot of growing up, a lot of learning, a lot of life. And realizing that it's okay to start again. It's okay to start something new. It's okay to become excited about something, you know. And yes, so here I am today, first year, marketing, management.
Are you doing that through UNISA?
I'm doing it through UNISA. So yeah, it's all online and that's going, you know.
How are you finding that, you know, as now a 40-year-old?
Yeah.
20 years later from having done a similar, you know, process of studying, how are you finding, what are the challenges? What are the benefits because you're older, you're wiser?
I think here's what's interesting. I'm basically a first-year student with 20 years experience in marketing. You know, I've managed to build somewhat of a successful brand, you know, my brand name, you know, DJing and the likes, and yet I'm sort of, you know, studying the other way around. And it's fun because a lot of the stuff, I mean, it's still on the first level, is pretty basic fundamentals. So I get along quite well with it and I'm finding it quite manageable, not easy, manageable, because I understand the work. But what's interesting is some of the concepts, obviously, I need to refer to the textbooks and understand them really from a theory perspective. And which is good.
Real life principles are different to what the textbook said.
100%, you know, but it's good to get different perspectives, you know, to learn about these professors and how they figured some of these things out. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm out there.
Yeah.
It's different, but it's exciting, you know, to be able to do that, draw those contrasts, you know. So that's good. That's been fun and exciting for me. I look forward to see how things will be. I mean, it's a fast-changing world. It's a fast-changing environment. You know, when I first started to DJ, as an example, I used to DJ on vinyls, on records, you know, plastic wax, we called it. Fast forward to a few years later after that, then we started to DJ on CDs, you know, you burn music on your CDs. And then fast forward to, you know, 5, 6, 7 years after that, now we're DJing off USBs. And so just technology is constantly changing. How things are working is constantly changing. And it's just exciting, you know, to me. Also, remember I mentioned I'm into technology, you know, I'm into computers. I've always been, you know, and I do have a technology business that I've just taken off. You know, it's still, you know, on the ground, but we're building. So for me, it's also exciting to look at that, to look at how things like AI, technology changes things. Everyone's a DJ today, or everyone's everything today. You know, a lot more podcasts, as an example, you know. Whereas traditionally, I think you, Jesse, you would have needed to have a whole TV production studio here that would have cost you millions and millions. And I think today you're able to do the same at a fraction of the cost, but it's still expensive and
yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it helps you, you know, I actually want to talk about, you know, AI and DJing, but I mean, AI has helped me be able to scale my business without having to hire as many staff as what I would have previously.
Yeah.
So, you know, because now with AI can pretty much do anything that requires technology. And if you look at DJing now, all you need to have are your tracks, and an AI computer can go and, you know, be the DJ for the evening.
100%.
But I think obviously there's not that personal interaction of the person behind the decks. But, you know, where do you see maybe AI going within the DJ realm?
I think it's already there. It's already doing a lot. And in fact, I was 2 weeks ago, I was DJing at an AI summit called the Singularity Summit. So it was weird how that happened, because I bumped into the guy at the gym. You know, I was in the gym And I'm chatting to those guys from Cape Town, and we're busy sweating it out. And we go sit in the bathroom, sit in the sauna afterwards, and we start having a chat. He asked me, "Are you into AI?" I'm like, "Dude, like I've got a passion for technology. I'm in the industry, but primarily DJing entertainment is my game." And he told me about the summit he's doing. Long story short, I ended up DJing there, and he says, "Look, listen, you can DJ with the AI. So we can invite you to come and DJ, and you can DJ with the AI." And I was like, magic, dude. So I was there, I went to go DJ, and that was pretty interesting. I didn't necessarily DJ with the AI, but I got to hear what the AI could do. And I was mind blown, I was like, cheapers. This is where we're at.
I think, AI, I mean, we can see there's AI singers now, there's AI pop songs and whatever. But I think there's certain things that AI can obviously not ever replicate, is that, if you go to a live concert where they can see you DJing there.
Yes.
Whereas if it's just AI, there's not that personal interaction. So I think that's where, how you need to then maybe still implement AI, but then still obviously continue to DJ, because people want you for you. So, if they see your name on the lineup, they want to go there and see you.
Exactly.
If they just see Milkshake with AI integration or whatever, they're going to be like, oh, if he's not there, what's the point of going?
What's the point? Yeah. No, 100%. In fact, I believe a huge part of what I do is connecting with people. I look at people at an event, any kind of event, whether it's a club, a corporate event, a festival, and you feed off energies. You look at the crowd losing their minds, going crazy, and that does something to you. It's like a trade-off again, and I perform better. I do better. I'm part of it. I'm with them. I'm one of them. And that's important. I don't think AI can ever reach those levels. Yeah. Not at all. Where you're looking at people losing their minds. You're connecting with people, energies. AI can't do that. So as much as there's a lot of advancements, there's just certain things that just require that human element, seeing someone smile and smile back at them and wave, and those are the things that just keep making what we do pretty special. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I mean the frequency of the music and how you can act as a conduit to the audience and change their vibrational frequencies. It's actually incredible.
Yep.
And the music that the AI could produce could do the same thing, but you reading the room. So now that's actually was going to be one of my questions is, how have you found like the challenges of going to a room, let's say it's maybe a corporate event where people are more serious and less in the party mood, reading the room and reading the energy, and then using the energy of the music to almost transform and manipulate the energy of the room?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was always difficult, I mean, this summit where I was DJing, by the way, was full of a lot of corporate people, and I had a great time. I had a great gig, but you've got to understand that people experience and enjoy things in different ways. So just because they aren't necessarily jumping up and down with their hands in the air and losing their minds doesn't necessarily mean they're having a good time. As an experienced DJ, it's important to read the room and be able to sit back and realize that this is this kind of event. So you've got to curate a certain type of playlist and curate a certain type of vibe and energy that's suited for these guys. Doesn't mean because they're not losing it, they're not having a good time. You look at people tapping their feet, popping their heads, and to say that, okay, cool, we can hear the tunes, we can hear the music, it's good. But it's not necessarily that type of party where, I want to take my shirt off kind of thing. So it's very important to do that. Early on, it was difficult because I would ask myself, why aren't people dancing? I'm used to people losing their minds and. But later on, you learn and realize that, no, it's not that kind of party, but it's still a party in the same breath. So just over time and experience, you learn those things. Yeah.
When at the beginning of your career, how was that learning curve of being in a room? People weren't receiving what you were trying to give them as much, in terms of, am I a bad DJ or am I just maybe not adaptable yet to the environment?
Yeah, tough. In fact, in my first year of DJing, adverts, funny enough, it was like towards the end of the year, one of these year-end functions. I was booed off stage. I had people throwing bottles and cans at me on stage. And that was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I actually went back to my room and cried.
I can imagine.
Yeah, like I broke down, because I couldn't understand. I was like, why are they booing me? Why are they hitting me with bottles, cans, all of this? And I thought I was a decent DJ. I think, I thought I was doing pretty well for myself. And I remember I was with my close mate at the time, and went back to my room and I was just crying. I broke down, and that was hard, because sometimes you seem to see certain things a certain way, and being young and inexperienced, you don't have enough perspective on things. And I mean, today I'm grateful for that, you know, because I know my place. Today I'm able to turn down certain gigs because I know that I'm not ideally the perfect fit, for that kind of gig. And I say to people, look at these guys for your event. And it just helps to know your lane, because it just makes everything better. You can't be everything to everyone, experience has just taught me that. You can't just take something because it's there, it's free, it's for the taking. You have to understand yourself first, and that'll inform which direction you're going to go. So absolutely, it took a lot of crying, a lot of heartbreak moments, but we're here today and we're still pushing. I mean, 20 years has been interesting.
I think that's a long lifeline it's a long life for a DJ.
Absolutely.
I mean, in any career, actually. Any career, I think, that's public facing, where there's an audience looking at you and receiving what you're giving them. I mean, if we look at sport, 20 years, no one's in sport for that long.
Exactly.
If we look at, many different actors, celebrities, those kind of guys, they're not often enough always in it for, they have their little short cycle and then they're out.
Yes.
So how has that been for you? Because obviously culture to a degree has shifted, music tastes have shifted, new genres coming in, but also, as you mentioned, staying within your lane of what you're best at. So how have you managed that shift to certain, implementing certain genres that you maybe really enjoy because you're passionate about it and you like the sound of it, and going that way while still staying true to your roots?
Yes.
How have you navigated that?
Okay, so I'm a hip hop DJ. I play hip hop, and that's my genre. Over the years, a lot of DJs have sort of turned open format, and what that means is they play everything, different genres, I've decided to stick to that because that's my preference, That's the first thing. But the second thing is, just in terms of longevity, it's important to, like I've just mentioned, understand who you are and what you want, and decide. And that could change day by day, by the way, And I've always had to sort of do a reality check, look myself in the mirror and say, hey, dude, like, what are you about? What do you want? What's your story? And just be open to change, and know that change is always going to be there. It's constant. So when there's ever new DJs or a new trend or something new in the industry, I've always embraced it. Embrace it, not to necessarily be part of it and at the forefront of it, but to embrace it from a perspective of knowing and understanding what's going on around me, and that, okay, cool, here's another change. There's a shift. There's new players. There's new kids on the block. There's TikTokers and like I say, I'm not necessarily on the forefront of such things, but when I interact with some of these youngsters, these new DJs and artists, I always embrace them. It's about learning and knowing that, okay, this is how things are working. Oh, okay, interesting. And still know that there's enough room for all of us. In my industry, there's, like any industry, there's always politics and controversies and, hate and drama. But I've always tried to distance myself from that, because I don't see why I need to have issues with a 21-year-old that's new on the scene, that's just trying to figure out what it is they want to do. I was once there. So why not work with them rather? Or even if I don't have to work with them, embrace them. Let them know that they've got a friend, in the industry. And that's important, to get over yourself and not say, oh, these bloody kids, these stupid kids, they don't know what they're doing. Well, yeah, of course, they're trying to figure it out. So let them, and that's important, getting over yourself and allowing other people to be, live and let live, let them exist, let them learn, let them grow. And yeah, my relationships just with people are still what keeps me afloat today. Venues, promoters, managers, event owners still, happily phone me. I'm not out there releasing new music or doing anything from a PR perspective to put me out there, but I believe my relationships are golden, yeah.
How is that, as you've gotten older, I assume your sense of self-worth has improved, because as we all get older, we start to also realize that, how other people view us isn't actually as important, how, the people's perception of us doesn't really matter. So, how is that, how have you seen from maybe the beginning of your career to now in terms of, embracing the youth? Whereas would the 21-year-old version of you had to have been able to have done that, or would have been difficult, but now that you've matured and you've got life experience, been able to now embrace the newcomers and not see them as a threat almost?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, then I remember there were other DJs when I was younger, still getting into the scene. And I was like, yeah, I want to be better than these guys. And I had a list. I literally had a list and I wrote it down. I was like, I want to be better than these guys. I want to make more money than these guys and have more gigs and more following and excuse me. And that was where I was at. I was very aggressive and very, not confrontational, but I had competition that I wanted to take down, and I don't think it was necessarily healthy. I went to issues, but I was like, yeah, I want to take these guys out,
Yeah.
And yeah, that was then, I had a good drive, to be good. But looking back now, it's a little bit different, because I believe then I didn't understand who I was compared to, today, where I've done a lot of growing, a lot of reflecting, and realized that the only person that matters is me. Actually, what I think or say and do for myself is all that matters, I was saying something to someone, I read it, something along the lines of, if someone compliments you, or if someone, disses you or says something negative about you, if you let any of those two things affect you, you're still a slave.
Yeah. Actually, I saw that quote and I love it as well, because sometimes we will tell ourselves, no, it doesn't matter the bad things that those people are saying, but then we'll take the praise, we'll take all of it. But then we're still a slave, because if we don't get the praise, then we feel bad, we feel like we're not good enough.
100%. So
it is a challenge.
It's a huge challenge. Yeah.
I think, but also that's when you mature, is you realize that, you've been, everyone that has a level of success has also been lucky. They've also been at the right place at the right time, coming up at a particular point and knew someone that helped them and, have been lucky. So it's also sometimes people say, you're the best DJ, or you're the best this or the best that. And it's you actually can't take the compliment because of maybe certain opportunities that you're given that other people weren't, or certain luck or whatever.
Yes. No, it's true. And I think just to add on to that, it's interesting how people are always attracted to wow, you're the best DJ, or you're the most successful, whatever. You're the richest person. I want to be like you because you have all these billions. But no one is actually attracted to the whole thing. Again, the trade-off, no one understands what it took for you to get there. And if you had to actually share your entire journey, your whole path, and say, okay, do you want to be this successful, or do you envy this, or you want this? Okay, cool. If you had to say that person, okay, cool, no problem. But please know that this is what it took. Here's the journey. Do you still want it? And I reckon most people wouldn't want it.
Yeah, there's always a price to be paid, and
That's it.
you don't see the price. You just see the prize, and you think that that's all good.
And I think a lot of people miss that. They just see the pot of gold, at the end of the rainbow, or whatever you want to call it. But the whole journey is not so nice.
Yeah. And speaking of journey, personally, from my experience, I've, when I'm working towards something, and then I get it, you realize what that wasn't really any, like I'm not any better than what I was now that I have it. You get a new car, you get a new phone, you get a new this, you get a new that.
Yeah.
The desire to have it is sometimes more pleasurable. It's more fun to be looking forward to the car, test driving the car, saving up the money for the car, and the process to it. And then you get the car, and then it's like, oh, now what? So I think that's also where we need to have that shift of, it's cool to have a goal of being successful, or use open quotes for whatever, because everyone's idea of what success is different.
Yeah.
But it's cool to be successful. But I think the journey and the hunger fighting for it is almost more enjoyable, actually.
100%. I agree with you, because I'm into gym, fitness, and all of these things, and that's actually how we met. And for me, I don't necessarily have one goal. Throughout my life, I've done different things in and around health and fitness. I had a phase where I was cycling a lot. I did I think 7 Cape Augustes, 5 94.7s. I did.
Get back into that phase, bro. We'll go ride.
Joburg to see, Sunny to see. I did all these things. And then I had a marathon phase, running phase. I did half Ironman, and fast forward, now I'm into this sort of hybrid training and enjoying that, the high rocks stuff. And so, for me, it's always been interesting just to go through different things. My fitness journey has led me into different paths, and it hasn't always been one thing. Like we talk about working towards something. It's like, yes, okay, cool. I did the August. Now I'll do a better time and do better this and do that. Okay, now I want to cycle to Durban from Joburg. Okay, let's do that. And then you wake up, you want to chase after the next thing. And people say, wow, you're so fit. Look at your body, you're in great shape. And I'm like, I don't do it for that. I just do it for the thrill.
Yeah.
The thrill of the challenge. That's my point around all of that. That's why I'm so obsessed with that, because I know I can never be at the top, at the pinnacle, but the chase is.
Yeah. Because there isn't ever a static point. You're never going to get to a point where you're like, okay, especially, with the human physique, everybody knows there's no point where you can be like, okay, I'm there, and then stop, because then you're going to just regress. So there's also no end point in anything.
No.
And that journey to it is always the best part, because I actually prefer waking up on the day to train than waking up the day after the event you were training for.
Yes.
Because the day afterwards, there's that anticlimax of, it's like, okay, well, what now? Those endorphins have faded, that happiness is gone. Yeah. Now what's next? Whereas when you're working towards it, it's the excitement of the event. It's knowing you've got the training now. Think about it like when you do high rocks and you need to taper down a little bit. That week before is actually the worst week, because you can't do all the training that you love and enjoy so much.
And you're at your fittest.
Yeah.
Arguably. Yeah, I agree.
So fitness, obviously, as you mentioned now, it's been a massive part of your journey and your life.
Yeah.
What was, that spark, that impetus to get you going in the health? Was it just general?
No. Interesting, actually. So I think, from high school, I was big into sports. I've never really been an academic. So throughout high school, I was big into sports. School really, then got into high school, focused on basketball, played provincially, nationally, and then varsity stopped, got into DJing. But then 2-3 years after that, not 2-3 years, a few more years later, my mother was diagnosed with cancer, lost my mother. And I think for me, the biggest shift then, losing my mom, is what got me into sort of looking after myself. Not necessarily being in the gym, but looking after myself. Because I said, wow, my mom suffered from cancer. And the same time, Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, also passed on, and for me, it was quite interesting to notice what was happening because my mom was a nurse. She lived a very normal life, and she looked after herself. She took care of people, and great. Unfortunately, she got ill and passed on. And you've got the guy who was the founder / CEO of the world's biggest company, arguably Apple, who was also ill. And with all the money he had, he couldn't buy his health, And that for me was like, flip. It doesn't matter how much money I or my mother could have had, it was her time. And it was the same thing with Steve Jobs. And I said to myself, well, look, let this be a wake-up call for you to realize that it doesn't matter what you do, you only have one body, so one life, look after it. It doesn't mean that just because I'm fit, I won't pass on, but I'm definitely giving myself a better chance, at experiencing life. And then from there, I started doing, all these activities. I actually started with cycling. I bought myself a bicycle, and that's when I got into it and started hitting the gym quite seriously. And it got more intense. It got very intense at some point, whereas I wouldn't even sleep. I'd go to my gigs, I'd DJ, I wouldn't drink and not sleep, and I'd go do these events. And we have to wake up early for these events. So yeah, it did get a bit crazy. Then I decided, okay, no, stop. You need to sleep, you need to rest, you don't need to be as hectic, but look after yourself, find a good routine, eat well, rest, exercise, have some sort of balance. And yeah, ever since then, it's just been, fitness, wellness, being healthy has always been part of my journey because I've understood that alone is wealth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, it's a perfect point where the richest man in the world, your mother, if you're sick, you're sick. Yes, maybe a bit of money can prolong that or let you live longer, but the thing that's going to make you live the longest is looking after yourself, the daily action of training, what you put in your body, how you eat. And, you mentioned losing both your parents. How has that also shaped your mindset now? Maybe on just appreciating, maybe on viewing and seeing the impermanence of life. How was that journey with that?
Yeah, I think, like I say, I grew up in a very, a model household, not necessarily well off, but just okay, comfortable. I managed to go to a good school. My parents had managed to save up enough money to take us to, tertiary, myself and my brother. So with that being said, just growing up has made me realize that I had a decent background, decent childhood, good relationship with my family and so on. And I've been quite a happy person throughout life, nothing extremely traumatic, fortunately, happened throughout my upbringing. Maybe in my adult years, obviously losing my parents, losing people that close to you typically hits harder. But I'm fortunate enough to have been older, so therefore a bit more prepared to deal with such hardships, So some of those things have actually helped me realize what's important. So having $1 billion in my account today is not going to make me that much more happy, like I'm okay. I'm a happy person. I'm, not too stressed. I don't necessarily suffer from things like anxiety and so I'm okay. And I don't necessarily feel like money will make me any better or any happier, and vice versa. Even if I'm, an unhappy person today and stressed and anxious all the time, I don't think that having money will make me any less stressed and anxious. So, just to answer your question, I say that because a lot of people focus on the wrong things or don't understand what's important in life. A lot of people want to focus on money. And I agree, money is important because money is what makes the world go round. But you've got to understand what makes your world go round, and it's not necessarily money. You've got to understand it for what it is. But if you're happy, you're happy. with or without the money. If you're sad, you're sad, with or without the money. So rather focus on the things that will actually contribute to your well-being. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sorry from...
No, bro, that's
sounding a bit-
perfect. No, that's good. And I mean, so I'll butcher the numbers and the exact study, but there was a study where, because all humans have a baseline level of happiness.
Yeah.
So they did a study where it was however many people who were in like severe accidents that maybe became crippled or lost their legs or whatever. And there was a study where they all said after a year or two, they were just as happy pretty much as what they were before.
Yeah.
So there's a baseline level of happiness. So, I mean, we've seen that. As you progress in your career, as you make more money, as you get that car, as you get that phone, as you get all these things, your happiness goes back to normal. You know, the novelty of a new car wears off very quickly. The novelty of once you're in that house wears off super quick. So there's just a level of happiness that you have as a general person, and having the money or not having the money, after a while, it's going to neutral out and it's pretty much going to be the same.
Yeah.
But, and I think that's with like worldly possessions, but I've seen when you are more loving, more caring, more giving, more generous, all of those things, I've found baseline level happiness is always at a more of a constant.
Yeah.
There's less fluctuations. When you are fixated on money, woman, parties, all of those things, when those are your primary focus, then there's massive fluctuations. But when it's just on connection, kindness, love, then that it's almost your happiness. Obviously, there's going to be stress, there's going to be bad times, and you're going to have those dips, but they're a lot less because when you focus on just the money, you're always thinking about not having enough. And if you're constantly in that lacking mindset of not having enough, you're always going to be aware, no matter how much you have, that you don't have enough.
That's it. Yeah. You become, you're not aware of what you should be grateful for. And if you wake up with a grateful heart, a grateful mind, then you're like, wow, I've got a lot to be grateful for, thankful for, more appreciative. I think, it's true. And I think a lot of people we're not free. We don't have a lot of independence because we depend on money to make us happy, you see. So I think things like that are very dangerous. So obviously, like, being a lot older now has made me realize that I'm actually pretty free. Like, I did something quite interesting the other day. I'm going overseas next week, and I only booked the trip last week. So I woke up, and not to say, I've got a lot of money lying around and therefore I get to do something like that, but I was able to wake up and say, cool, I want to go away for a week.
You're also not holding on to your money that much where it's like, no, I don't want to spend any of it.
Exactly. Because again, just talking about my life, some of the things that I'm really grateful for is being able to travel, because wow, that's been the biggest contributor to my wellness, being able to see the world, having different perspectives on life, how people live, what the world actually looks like. That's huge, If I had kids, if I could have kids, I don't know so much how much schooling I'd put them through. I'll probably make them travel, because I believe there's nothing that'll educate you more than seeing the world and, through different ways. And I think that's been, for me, one of the things that's helped me grow and become a better person and understand other people, because just seeing how people live, do things, what they get up to, where they're living, and just traveling just does that for you. And I can't stress that more. And again, I do almost whatever it is I want to do when I want to do it. And I believe that, independence is huge, because I'm then dependent on myself. Again, it's about what I want to do, what's important to me, and not necessarily, I need to check my bank balance first before I can do something. No, I'll go for a walk. That's free, right?
Yeah.
So do that.
Yeah, I think that exposure to different cultures and different ways of thinking is so incredible. Within my business, 80% of my clients are a different culture to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's been such an incredible experience and exposure to different cultures and to different ways of thinking and to different ideologies and beliefs and all of these things, because when you are in this echo chamber of everyone around you thinking the same, doing the same, that's when the indoctrination comes in. That's when the conditioning so much, it becomes so conditioned in you that, oh no, but this is how we do this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a perfect example is, okay, no, like with the white culture, if you hear people being too loud, that's seen as a negative thing.
Yeah.
Whereas with a black culture, it's more okay to be louder.
Yeah.
From my point of view and my experience, I've seen when my white clients come in, they may be more quiet. They may be, are we overstepping? Are we this? Whereas the black clients are like, okay, cool, we're here. Let's have a good time.
Yes.
Let's enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
If we're a little bit loud during the interview, it's okay. Whereas the white clients are like, I don't want to upset anyone. I don't want to do these things. And that's been so nice because when you maybe like just within a white culture, it's like, no, being too loud is wrong.
Yeah.
But then you see these other cultures like, why is being loud wrong? Why is speaking louder or, and that's also the biggest thing I've seen is the difference between like me being exposed to obviously being white, being more exposed to white culture is actually the level of happiness when you are so, I don't want to upset anyone. I don't want to do this. How are people going to view me versus how I've seen it with my black clients where it's just like, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to express myself. I'm going to just be how I want to be. And I've seen what I perceive to be more happiness with just people expressing themselves how they want to express themselves as opposed to, what are people going to think of me? I better be quiet.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of yesterday, funny enough, our in my complex, we have a WhatsApp group. And yesterday, a lot of the people there are white. So
a lot of complaints.
So someone had shame and, someone didn't know where their cat was, right? So this guy posts a picture of his cat and his cat's gone missing. So obviously, guys, just please be on the lookout and great. So then this is late at night. Then when I wake up this morning, obviously I check the chat group again. Okay, thank God the cat's been found. And it was found at wherever, number 18 it was. And the cat was really nervous and anxious and upset and, was scratching and making noises in someone else's unit. And the guy was just so apologetic, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. My cat gets really anxious and sorry for the noise. And he couldn't stop apologizing. And I'm like, dude, you lost your cat. You can't be apologetic about the cat being anxious. And I mean, the cat was stressed.
The cat's being a cat.
The cat's being a cat. I can't complain about someone's dog barking in a complex that allows pets. I can't do anything about my dog barking. It's a dog. It's got to bark. You understand? So it's one of those things that for me, I noticed, and I was laughing. I didn't say anything, but I was like, but what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
You can't muzzle your cat or your dog. Let the cat be a cat. Let the dog be a dog and stop apologizing, okay? Out of courtesy, sorry that maybe there was an inconvenience, if anything, but not for the cat meowing.
Yeah. I mean, because, okay, I would say maybe, my complex is more white, I would say.
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at the complaints, where the people complaining, it's the white people.
Yeah.
But the other day, and this is also where I think people need to find purpose, and I actually want to discuss purpose as well, but they need to find things that interest them and find passion. There's one lady on the group, because there's small holdings and there's like dirt roads just outside my estate.
Yeah.
And I saw on Saturday, there was people riding horses or walking on the road. And then the one lady says, why is all this poo on the outside of our estate? On the outside. So it's not even on the inside.
Yeah.
And she's like, how can this happen? Why is there so much poo? And then another person was just like, I saw horses. There was people walking their horses. Yeah. Like, how much is going on in your life that you are complaining about the poo outside of your estate that is clearly just a horse? And I mean, what, must you just say, no, Mr. Horse, go over there, do that on the side of the road?
Yeah, the horses must go to the toilet now.
Yeah, like that. Some people just feel the need that they have to complain. And I don't know if that's a lack of purpose or what it is.
Yeah, I think people have too much time.
Yeah.
Too much time. And maybe, it's they actually don't have a purpose, maybe, hey, to want to focus on certain things. Kind of like in my industry, I always, shake my head and I get quite put off when I look at all the gossip and blog pages, you know, obviously dragging people's names. And I mean, obviously, in terms of the media makes money of selling bad news and scandals and all of that. But, you know, I look at people that follow these pages on social media or that subscribe to them, and I say, you know, how bored are you in life that you feel a sense of, you know, excitement, or this brings joy to you, reading about people's downfalls, people's drama, people's problems. I mean, like, no one just has it easy sailing.
Yeah.
Everyone has.
I think that's exactly it. Because they have so little, seeing someone's name put through the mud makes them feel a little bit better that they have.
Yeah.
You know, it puts them, okay, I feel a little bit better that that person is also suffering.
And it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's the wrong way to want to sort of focus or to get joy and happiness. It shouldn't be through someone else's. I mean, someone else's success or suffering has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With your own career purpose and goals that you've set, do you feel that every human has purpose, or do you feel that we create that purpose for ourselves? You know, what's your kind of view on that? Because also you've seen how your interests have shifted.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you view, you know, purpose.
It changes. I think it changes over time. So I'm in my 40s, and like, one of the things I always get from people in general, you know, that I come across, why aren't you married? Why haven't you settled down? Why don't you have kids? And I just believe, well, I mean, I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do, because I've been fortunate enough to have been free, I think, you know, throughout my life. I think the only thing that I was forced to do in my childhood was go to school and go to church. But other than that, I could do anything I wanted to do. You know what I mean? And, you know, I'm grateful for my parents for that. And my purpose has changed. You know, I've explained, I've given you different experiences of my life. And now I believe what's important more and more is doing what really is meaningful to me, what gives me my freedom. Because looking at some of my peers and friends as an example now, I noticed that a lot of them aren't free. So, for example, some people stay in certain marriages, toxic relationships, for the wrong reason. I'm staying here for the kids. And they're not necessarily happy themselves. And, you know, I look at, you know, certain people doing things like that. And I'm just using that as an example to say, you know, that, you know, you lose yourself, and that could have an effect on your family. It rubs off on the kids, rubs off on your entire environment, work, and I believe, you know, if you have a strong sense of purpose, then you can avoid making, you know, those mistakes and those wrong decisions, because it's like a virus. It only gets exacerbated, you know, and grows over time, you know. And if you don't really, you know, have something solid at the core, then you don't have a purpose, you know. You have a false sense of purpose. And I think a lot of people have that. So, you know, I've been fortunate enough to want to choose to live my life on my terms, and I live every day like it's my last. It sounds cliched, but not because I'm clocking life, I'm redlining every day, but I'm choosing me every day, you know. And I always, you know, wake up and I'm honest with myself, honest what I'm about, and honest with what I'm doing, and do everything with intent. Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's so many social conventions that, I mean, if you look at marriage, where people will feel judged if they had to get a divorce, or people will feel that, you know, then the child's going to suffer, whereas the child could be suffering more so by you two being in constant conflict.
Correct.
So I think there's so much that society has deemed good and bad that is completely incorrect.
Yeah.
You know, if we just look at how times have changed, look at how we wouldn't have been sitting like this 100 years ago. Obviously, if this technology did exist, you know, black and white would not be sitting together having conversation.
Not at all.
But that was accepted then.
Yes.
But now, obviously, clearly people can see the error of their ways. And, as time has gone, people have constantly evolved and grown and broken some level of programming. And I think the marriage thing is a massive one where, why is it wrong that you haven't got married and had kids? Like, why is that anything that needs to be even a question of why haven't you done that yet?
Yes, like there's something wrong.
Yeah. And I think that's and you've obviously done that most of your life is questioning and saying like, okay, well, understand why you feel that's best for you. Go ahead and do that. But for me, that's not, what I want. And you mentioned choosing yourself every day. And I think some people, if they haven't looked within truly, they'll see that as you being selfish. Whereas when you're choosing yourself, then you show up more authentically, then you're more kind, then you're more loving, then you're more receptive to other people. So it's probably the least selfish thing you actually can do is choose yourself every day.
Absolutely. Like, I couldn't agree more with that. I think, again, because of these social constructs, we were made to feel guilty about a lot of things we shouldn't feel guilty about, because you were mentioning slightly to me earlier about how long I've been in the industry, and it's longer than what a lot of people do, and it's exactly that. I'm comfortable within myself. I choose myself every day. That's why I don't have any issues with 100 new DJs being born every day or anyone coming into the industry, because I'm not comparing myself with anyone. I'm not in competition with anyone other than myself, obviously, to try and be better. But I have an open heart, an open mind, and I'm open to everything. And I think that's typically what makes us better people, makes us, do better in life in general, where you don't have issues with anything or anyone. You're just constantly trying to be the best version of yourself. So that's been quite special to me. I only have a dog. My dog's loyal to me.
It's a what is it?
It's a Boston.
Boston Terrier. Yeah.
And that relationship is actually quite interesting, because, I mentioned I'm going to be traveling. Every time I travel and I go away and I come back, my dog's just happy to see me, like that I'm back. Like, wow, not where have you been? What the hell? And it's like, okay, cool, he's back, and jumping on me and licking me, and that's exciting. And to be able to experience that kind of love, for me, it's taught me a lot in life. Just sort of having a pet. I don't know if I should call it blind loyalty, but it's just, that's unconditional love. It doesn't matter what I do. My dog just loves me. Yeah, I know you have dogs as well. So
I think if we could, how dogs accept us no matter how we show up. If we show up tired, if we show up sad, if we show up in any particular way, a dog is just like, well, I love you, I just want to be with you. If we could treat other people like that, because you might be frustrated with your dog for chewing the slipper, or angry at your dog for doing whatever, but that it instantly fades. There's no negative feelings that you harbor towards your dog for making a mistake, because that dog isn't vindictively trying to do that.
No.
That dog is trying its best.
Yeah.
And I think we also need to treat people because people are genuinely trying their best.
Absolutely.
So if we can just accept and love people, even if they do make mistakes, even if they do something that could potentially hurt us, if we could love them that same way, because that is true unconditional love. And I think our human idea of what love is so false.
Yeah.
It's completely wrong, because our idea of love as humans is expectation. So you can't say you love someone if when they are upset, you're annoyed that they're upset. Or if they are struggling with something, you're frustrated that they're struggling with something. That's not love.
Yeah.
Because love is pure acceptance, no matter how the person shows up. And it's not expecting them to love you in a particular way. Because if you're expecting them to love you in a particular way, you don't love them, because, that's a transaction. That's not love.
It's true. And it's one thing I've also realized, just growing up. So in school, I also went to a predominantly white school. I remember when I graduated in matric, there were 4 black people, 3 guys, 1 girl out of 90 students.
Sure.
So a short part of my life was through apartheid. And then post 94, obviously still going to the same school, interacting with kids. And what I learned in terms of, black kids and white kids just growing up is that love is love, right? So you would experience different kids, and particularly I would refer to, my upbringing because of apartheid and the likes. Hate is taught, but love is natural for all people. Like we human beings are about love and caring and you don't necessarily have to teach that, but you teach things like hate, like don't play with that kid because he's a different skin color and these are things that I got to notice growing up and I got to make really special bonds with other white kids who I'm still friends with today, And it's some of the things you look back on and think, well, wow, this is actually quite interesting. It's quite interesting how life is and how people are, because only now do I actually have an appreciation of everything, good and bad, And so I definitely agree with your point where you say everything, when it comes from love, it's authentic, it's genuine, because there's no expectation. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You take it for what it is, but the moment you have an expectation or you start putting terms and conditions and certain things like don't go there, don't do this, I'll only love you because you do that, then that's when things start getting a bit murky and dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's challenging within, like something like a marriage. Because, people can stay together, they can live a long life together, they can be relatively happy. But to say I love you is actually false.
It is false.
Maybe I love you in the moment now.
Yeah.
But when I'm angry at you, that's not love, that's anger.
Yeah.
So yes, the anger fades and then maybe the love comes back. But to say to someone, I will love you forever, it's a lie. It's a complete lie.
It's like saying, I love my job. A lot of people have a false sense of love when they say things like that. And it's just an example, because you only love your job because you get paid at the end of the month and your job does something for you. So again, like you said, it's a transaction. I love my job because my job gets me to afford a certain kind of life. And so therefore, I'm in love with my job. I love my job. But if your job didn't pay you,
you wouldn't be doing it.
You wouldn't be doing it. You wouldn't love your job. So 100%.
And I think, you're in a creative industry. And I think that's what, I don't think it's possible. But if we could, spread out all the wealth in the world and give everyone equal amounts of money, and people could just then do what they love. I think that's what you find is more people will then be creative. They will pursue creative things.
Yeah.
And in whatever manner that is. I mean, for me, I really enjoy editing videos.
Yes.
Like that's my form of, I can't draw, I can't sing, I can't, make music or whatever, but I enjoy editing videos and trying to formulate some sort of structure in a video to elicit emotion.
Yes.
And fortunately, I do get to get paid for it.
Yeah.
But then people pursue, and I think a creative outlet is something all humans need to have.
Yeah.
Because it's in a way of expressing yourself. It's expressing emotion. It's telling a story. And if we didn't have to work for money and we had money or whatever, I think all people would be pursuing something creative. So I think to be able to express yourself through being creative while still earning an income, while still being able to travel, experience people, I think we're both in pretty fortunate positions where we can still express that creativity and then obviously get money from it.
I agree. Because, I mean, look, if you look at history, just world history in general, before money, we all come from certain type of cultures. And looking at those cultures typically had artisans, different, everyone had their own talent or respect. And we would trade and barter. So women would be found doing certain types of things within a certain culture, and you find men finding themselves doing certain things within a certain culture. So I agree 100%. It was all about art and culture, hence the term. It's all related because we are all creative, we are all artistic to a certain degree as human beings, actually, in general. No matter where you're from, black, white, anywhere in the world, you found men and women doing different things within their society, and that involved, living and culture. So 100%, it was about sewing or knitting or being a blacksmith, an artisan, a woodworker, and it was all about community, which is something, that I notice is very important in life. It's just community, that's what it was about. It was never about money. Money was just, it obviously became something, to involve trade and bartering, but I guess, yeah, another conversation, but 100%, I agree. At heart, as people, we're all artists.
Yeah, and for people to be able to somehow find an outlet to express their art, the inner artist, I think is, maybe the best thing. So for you now, in closing, because you want to embrace the youngsters, you want to, any new up-and-comer, what kind of advice with your 20 years of experience would you be giving people now? They want to become a DJ, a singer, or any performer.
I believe, and I've just made a mention of community. The most important thing is actually that. I'm from Soweto in Diepkloof. So if I wanted to make it as a DJ today, and I'm trying myself out, what I would do is to go to my neighbors, my immediate community, invite all my neighbors and all the people that have sort of seen me grow and know that I'm a DJ, and I invite them to my event at my house or at the town hall, the local community hall or whatever. And whether it's 10 or 15 or 50 of them that would show up, they'd get to experience my offering, my musical offering, my talent, my DJing skills. And I would grow in my community so that my community almost has an immediate responsibility to support me, because that's the community, right? You want to support the local businessmen and women. So that's where I start. I don't want to, like I said, I'm from Soweto. I wouldn't want to go to Sandton and be a, big prominent name in Sandton immediately. I would want to start in my community, Diepkloof, where I'm from. And once I've got there, bold loyalty and support, and then I'll grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually I will reach Sandton and I'll, grow throughout the country and internationally. But that's literally that. Starting at home, charity starts at home. So you start at home with your community, with the people who love you, with the people who genuinely care for you because they know who you are, they know your family. And that's how you grow. So it's always got to be authentic. A lot of people have this false sense. I say this to a lot of people about the youth, and some of the mistakes or shortcomings I notice is that a lot of the younger generation tend to want instant gratification, the quick wins. I'm saying it's taken 20 years for me to become some sort of success. So you've got to understand it's a journey. It's it's something you've got to grind out over a long time, and not necessarily want the quick wins. So that's definitely what I would say. Start at home. Charity starts at home. Be patient with the process. If it's worth it, it'll be worth it. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
100%.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I really appreciate you coming through.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure,
no,
man.
Of course,
Thank
man.
you.
And I hope you have a good trip next week.
Yeah, man. I look forward to it. It's Thailand.
Awesome, Thailand. That's going to be fun.
Thank you.
Are you playing anything there, or you just holidaying?
I'm going to go play golf.
Nice.
It's a golf trip.
Nice.
Yeah.
I saw you into golf, eh?
Yes.
Is that, obviously DJing is high energy.
Yes.
Is that your kind of decompression?
Absolutely, yeah. Just being out there with nature, walking around, that's just, it's love. It's one of those things that I have to have. Like, I have to gym every day. It's just,
Awesome.
It's special.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Awesome.
Cheers.